I never thought my life would take such a sharp turn. For years, I believed I had the perfect marriage with Cynthia. We met during a seaside vacation, and our love story felt like a fairy tale. I was captivated by her sparkling eyes and radiant smile. Her warmth and charm made every day special. We shared dreams, laughter, and the comfort of each other's company. Little did I know, everything was about to change. It was an ordinary day on the road for me. Being a truck driver, I spent long hours driving through beautiful landscapes, often lost in my thoughts. I was on my way back from a delivery, looking forward to a quiet evening at home. As I drove along a winding road, a car sped past me, catching my attention. It was my car, unmistakably so with my license plate. At first, I was puzzled. Cynthia had told me she lent the car to our friends, Carla and Stephen. But why was it here, far from where they lived? Curiosity got the better of me. I decided to follow the car and surprise my friends. The car turned into a small neighborhood, and I parked nearby. As I approached the house where the car was parked, I felt a strange mix of excitement and anxiety. I knocked on the door, but no one answered. The door was slightly ajar, so I stepped inside, calling out for Carla and Stephen. "Hello, anyone home?" I called out, but there was only silence. I wandered through the house, feeling increasingly uneasy. Then I heard muffled voices coming from upstairs. As I climbed the stairs, the voices grew clearer, and I recognized one of them. It was Cynthia. Peeking through a crack in the door, I saw Cynthia sitting close to a man I had never seen before. They were laughing, sipping wine, and looking far too comfortable with each other. My heart pounded in my chest, anger and disbelief flooding my mind. I pulled out my phone and began recording, needing proof of what I was witnessing. "Gabriel, I'm so glad we managed to get away," Cynthia said, her voice soft and affectionate. "Yeah, this place is perfect. And your husband's car? Brilliant idea," Gabriel replied with a smug grin. I felt a surge of rage but tried to stay calm. I walked to the terrace door and made my presence known by shaking a bottle of beer and throwing it at them. Cynthia jumped up stunned as Gabriel wiped beer from his face. "David, what are you doing here?" Cynthia stammered, her face pale. "I decided to visit my friends and found a bigger surprise," I said, my voice shaking with controlled anger. Gabriel, looking angry and embarrassed, stood up and tried to approach me. "You have no right to barge in here. Get out." "Try me," I replied, standing my ground. Gabriel rushed towards me, but his foot got caught on a blanket and he stumbled forward, crashing into the glass door. The door shattered and a large piece fell, cutting Gabriel's neck. Cynthia screamed, her hands covered in blood, as she tried to stop the bleeding. The room fell silent, the reality of what just happened sinking in. I looked at Cynthia, who was sobbing uncontrollably. I felt no pity for her or the man lying motionless on the floor. "You're pathetic, Cynthia. I'm leaving and I never want to see you again," I said, turning my back on the chaos. As I walked away, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I felt betrayed, angry, and oddly relieved. The perfect life I thought I had was a lie, but at least now I knew the truth. Later, the police arrived, and I handed them my video recording. It was clear it was an accident, and I was free to go. But I knew my life would never be the same. I had to start over, rebuild from the ground up, without the woman I once thought I'd spend my life with. That was the day everything changed. It was the day I discovered the truth and began the painful journey of moving forward. The drive home felt longer than usual. My mind was a tangled mess of thoughts and emotions. How could Cynthia betray me like that? I replayed the scene in my head over and over again, each time feeling a fresh wave of anger in her. By the time I reached our driveway, I had made up my mind. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to wait. I walked into the house, and there she was, sitting on the couch with a book in her hands, as if nothing had happened. The sight of her made my blood boil. She looked up, surprised to see me. "David, you're home early," she said with a smile that quickly faded when she saw my face. "We need to talk, Cynthia," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's wrong?" she asked, her eyes wide with innocence. "Don't play dumb with me. I know what you did," I snapped, pulling out my phone and showing her the video. Her face turned pale. She watched the video in silence, her hands trembling. When it ended, she looked up at me, tears welling up in her eyes. David, I can explain, she started, but I cut her off. Explain? Explain what, Cynthia? How you were having an affair behind my back. How you used my car to meet him. I shouted, my anger finally spilling over. It wasn't like that, I swear. It was just one time. I made a mistake, she pleaded, her voice shaking. One time? Do you think I'm stupid? I heard everything, Cynthia. You laughed about it. You laughed about me. I said, my voice breaking. She stood up, trying to reach for me, but I stepped back. I couldn't bear to let her touch me. Please, David, I'm so sorry. I love you. It didn't mean anything, she cried, tears streaming down her face. Didn't mean anything? It meant enough for you to lie to me, to cheat on me, to use our friends as an excuse. How can I ever trust you again? I asked, feeling the weight of her betrayal crush me. She fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. I'll do anything, David. Please, give me another chance. I can't lose you. I looked at her, the woman I once loved more than anything, now a stranger to me. I felt a mixture of sadness and disgust. I knew in my heart that I couldn't stay. I can't, Cynthia. I can't do this anymore. I'm filing for divorce, I said, turning away from her. She wailed, grabbing onto my leg, but I gently pushed her away. Please, David, don't leave me. I'll change, I promise. She begged. But I had made up my mind. It's too late, Cynthia. You should have thought about that before, I said, walking towards the door. I grabbed my keys and left the house, her cries echoing behind me. I drove aimlessly for hours, trying to process everything. The woman I thought I knew, the life I thought we had, was gone. I had to start over, but I didn't know where to begin. Eventually, I pulled over at park. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the trees. I sat on a bench, feeling the cool breeze on my face. For the first time in hours, I felt a sense of calm. I knew the road ahead would be tough, but I also knew I had the strength to walk it, alone but stronger. As the sky turned to twilight, I made a silent promise to myself. I would heal, I would move on, and I would find happiness again. This was just the beginning of a new chapter in my life, one where I would reclaim my peace and build a future free from betrayal. The next morning, I woke up to an empty bed in a small motel room. The previous day's events felt like a bad dream, but the ache in my chest told me it was all too real. I had to face the reality of my broken marriage and figure out my next steps. I checked my phone. There were multiple missed calls and texts from Cynthia. I didn't have the strength to read them yet. I decided to focus on what needed to be done. I got dressed and headed to the nearest cafe. The aroma of fresh coffee greeted me, providing a small comfort. I ordered a cup and sat down, pulling out my phone again. One message caught my eye. Cynthia, David, please come home. We need to talk. I'm so sorry. I can't do this without you. I sighed and decided it was time to speak with someone who might offer clarity. I called my best friend Tom, who had always been there for me through thick and thin. Tom, it's David. Can we meet? I need to talk, I said, my voice trembling. Of course, David. Where are you? I'll come right over, Tom replied, concern evident in his voice. We agreed to meet at a nearby park. When I arrived, Tom was already there, sitting on a bench. He stood up as he saw me, his face etched with worry. David, you look like hell. What's going on? He asked, giving me a firm hug. I took a deep breath and told him everything, the affair, the confrontation, Gabriel's death. Tom listened patiently, his expression growing darker with every word. Man, I can't believe she did that to you. I'm so sorry, Tom said, shaking his head. I don't know what to do, Tom. I feel lost, I admitted, my voice cracking. You need to take care of yourself first, David. Get a lawyer, start the divorce process, and find a place to stay. You can't go back to that house, Tom advised, his tone firm. I know, but it feels so overwhelming. We've been together for so long, I said, feeling the weight of the years pressing down on me. I get it, but you have to think about your future. Do you really want to stay with someone who betrayed you like that? Tom asked, looking me straight in the eyes. No, I don't. I just wish things were different, I replied, tears welling up. They aren't, and that's the hard truth. But you can build a new life. You're strong, David. You'll get through this, Tom said, squeezing my shoulder. We sat in silence for a while, watching the children play and the joggers pass by. It felt good to have Tom's support, but I knew the road ahead would be tough. Over the next few days, I followed Tom's advice. I contacted a lawyer, started the divorce proceedings, and found a small apartment to rent. Moving out of the house was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Every corner of it held memories of Cynthia and the life we had built together. One evening, as I was packing my things, Cynthia showed up. Her eyes were red from crying, and she looked exhausted. David, please, can we talk? She pleaded, standing in the doorway. I don't think there's anything left to say, Cynthia, I replied, not meeting her eyes. Please just give me 5 minutes. I owe you an explanation, she insisted. I sighed and nodded, gesturing for her to sit. She took a deep breath and began. I know what I did was unforgivable. I was lonely, David. You were always on the road, and I felt so alone. Gabriel was just a mistake, a terrible mistake. But I never stopped loving you, she said, tears streaming down her face. I was on the road to provide for us, Cynthia, to give us a good life. And you repaid me by cheating. I said, my voice filled with bitterness. I know I hate myself for it, but please believe me when I say it meant nothing. I love you, David. Only you, she sobbed. I can't do this anymore, Cynthia. You've broken my trust, and I don't think it can ever be repaired. I need to move on for my own sanity, I said, standing up. She looked at me, defeated. I understand. I'll always regret what I did. I'm so sorry. As she left, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. The chapter with Cynthia was closing, but it also marked the beginning of a new one for me. The days turned into weeks, and slowly, I started to find a new rhythm. I focused on my work, spent more time with friends, and tried to rebuild my life. It wasn't easy, but with each passing day, the pain lessened a little. One evening, as I sat in my new apartment, I received a message from Tom. Tom, hey, David, a few of us are going out tonight. Join us. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of excitement. Maybe it was time to start living again. David, count me in. And with that, I began to see the glimmers of hope in my new life, ready to embrace whatever came next. The first few weeks after leaving Cynthia were the hardest. I felt like a ship lost at sea, no anchor, no direction. My small apartment was a stark contrast to the home we had shared. It was quiet, almost too quiet, and the loneliness was deafening. But I knew this was a necessary step to heal and move on. I threw myself into my work, taking on extra shifts and longer routes. The open road had always been a place of solace for me, and now it became my refuge. The hum of the engine and the ever-changing landscape were comforting in their familiarity. One evening after a long haul, I decided to visit a local bar. I needed to be around people to feel some semblance of normalcy. As I walked in, the warm lights and the murmur of conversations were a welcome change from the solitude of my apartment. I spotted Tom sitting at the bar and made my way over. Hey, Tom, I greeted, taking a seat next to him. David, good to see you, man. How are you holding up? He asked, genuinely concerned. Some days are better than others, I admitted, but I'm getting there. That's all you can do. One day at a time, he said, patting my back. Let me get you a drink. As we sipped our beers, the door opened and a woman walked in. She had a warm smile and an air of confidence about her. Tom noticed me looking. That's Anna. She's a friend of mine. Want to meet her? He asked, a mischievous glint in his eye. Sure, why not? I replied, feeling a bit of my old self returning. Tom waved her over, and she joined us at the bar. Anna, this is David, an old friend of mine. David, this is Anna. Tom introduced us. Nice to meet you, David, Anna said, extending her hand. Likewise, I replied, shaking her hand. As the evening went on, I found myself relaxing and enjoying the conversation. Anna was easy to talk to, and her laughter was infectious. For the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of hope. Over the next few weeks, Anna and I started seeing each other more often. We went for coffee, took walks in the park, and talked about everything and nothing. She was a breath of fresh air, and her positivity was contagious. One sunny afternoon, we were sitting on a park bench, watching the ducks in the pond. "David, can I ask you something?" Anna said, turning to face me. "Of course," I replied, curious. "Do you ever think about what happened with Cynthia? I mean, does it still bother you?" she asked gently. I sighed, taking a moment to gather my thoughts. "It does sometimes, but not as much as it used to. Meeting you has helped a lot. You've shown me that there's still good out there and that I can move on." "I'm glad to hear that," she said, smiling. "You've been through a lot, and it's okay to take your time healing." "Thanks, Anna. I really appreciate your understanding," I said, feeling a warmth spread through me. As the months passed, my life began to take on a new shape. I focused on my work, my friends, and my budding relationship with Anna. I learned to find joy in the small things, sunsets, good conversations, and the simple act of moving forward. One evening, I was sitting in my apartment, looking through old photos. Memories of Cynthia still stung, but they no longer had the power to paralyze me. I realized I had come a long way from the man who walked out of that house, broken and lost. I decided to call Tom and thank him for his support. "Hey, Tom, I just wanted to say thanks for everything. You've been a great friend," I said. "Anytime, David. That's what friends are for," he replied warmly. "And also, I think I'm ready to start fresh. Really move on. I said, feeling a sense of closure. "That's great to hear, man. I'm proud of you," Tom said, his voice filled with genuine pride. As I hung up the phone, I felt a sense of peace. Life was far from perfect, but it was mine to shape and build. I was picking up the pieces one day at a time and creating a new mosaic of experiences and memories. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but I knew I was ready for it. With the support of friends like Tom and the companionship of Anna, I felt equipped to face whatever came next. And for the first time in a long time, I was genuinely looking forward to the future. The morning sun filtered through the curtains of my new apartment, casting a warm glow over the room. I stretched and took a deep breath, feeling a sense of calm and hope that I hadn't felt in a long time. Today was the start of something new. I got up and made a simple breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast. As I sat at the small kitchen table, I thought about how much my life had changed in the past few months. The pain of Cynthia's betrayal was still there, but it no longer controlled me. I was ready to move forward, to embrace the future with an open heart. Later that morning, I met Anna at our favorite coffee shop. She was already there, sitting at a corner table, a bright smile lighting up her face as she saw me. "Good morning, David," she greeted, standing up to give me a hug. "Good morning, Anna," I replied, feeling a warmth spread through me at her touch. We ordered our usual black coffee for me and a caramel latte for her, and settled into our seats. "How are you feeling today?" Anna asked, her eyes filled with genuine concern. "Better. Much better, actually. I think I'm finally ready to put the past behind me," I said, taking a sip of my coffee. "That's great to hear, David. You've come a long way, and I'm really proud of you," she said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "Thank you, Anna. You've been a big part of that. I don't know how I would have made it through without you," I admitted, feeling a lump in my throat. "We all need someone to lean on sometimes. I'm just glad I could be here for you," she replied, her smile warm and reassuring. As we finished our coffee, Anna suggested a walk in the park. The weather was perfect, clear skies, and a gentle breeze. We strolled along the paths, talking about everything and nothing. It felt good to be outside, to feel the sun on my face and the fresh air in my lungs. "David, have you thought about what's next for you?" Anna asked, stopping to admire a bed of blooming flowers. "I have. I want to start fresh, really build something new for myself. Maybe even start my own business," I said, feeling a surge of excitement at the idea. "That sounds amazing. What kind of business?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with interest. "I've always loved woodworking. I was thinking of starting a small shop, making custom furniture," I said, the idea forming more solidly in my mind as I spoke. That's perfect for you, David. You have such a talent for it. I think you'll do great, Anna said, her encouragement boosting my confidence. We continued our walk, talking about plans and dreams for the future. The more we talked, the more I felt a sense of purpose and direction. I was no longer defined by my past. I was ready to create a new path for myself. A few weeks later, I took the first steps towards my new beginning. I found a small workshop space for rent and began setting it up with the tools and materials I needed. Each day, I felt more alive, more connected to my passion. One evening, as I was working on a new piece, a handcrafted dining table, Anna stopped by the workshop. She brought dinner, and we sat together on the floor, eating and talking. You know, David, this place already feels like it's filled with your energy. I can see your future here, Anna said, looking around the workshop with admiration. Thanks, Anna. It feels right, like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be, I replied, feeling a deep sense of contentment. I'm so happy for you, and I believe in you. You're going to do amazing things, she said, leaning in to kiss me softly. As we sat there, surrounded by the scent of fresh wood and the hum of possibility, I realized just how far I'd come. The journey had been hard, but it had led me to a place of hope and new beginnings. With Anna by my side and a clear vision for my future, I knew I could face whatever came next. Life wasn't perfect, and it never would be, but it was mine to shape and mold, like the pieces of wood in my workshop. And for the first time in a long time, I felt truly happy and ready to embrace the journey ahead. Life was moving forward in ways I never imagined. My woodworking shop was gaining traction, and I found a rhythm in the routine of crafting beautiful pieces from raw wood. My days were filled with the satisfying hum of tools, the smell of sawdust, and the joy of creating something tangible and lasting. One evening, as I was closing up the shop, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Cynthia. I hadn't heard from her in months, and seeing her name brought back a flood of memories. Cynthia, David, can we meet? I need to talk to you. Please. I stared at the message, my heart pounding. I didn't know her anything, but a part of me was curious. What did she want after all this time? I decided to reply. David. Okay. Where and when? We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe the next day. As I walked in, I spotted her sitting by the window, looking out with a pensive expression. She looked thinner, more fragile than I remembered. Hi, David, she said softly as I approached. Hello, Cynthia, I replied, taking a seat across from her. There was an awkward silence before she spoke again. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. I know I have no right to ask, but I needed to see you. What do you want, Cynthia? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She took a deep breath. I wanted to apologize, properly. I know I hurt you deeply, and I've had a lot of time to reflect on my actions. I made terrible mistakes, and I'm truly sorry. Her words were sincere, and for the first time, I saw a hint of the woman I once loved, but the pain she caused was still fresh in my mind. I appreciate your apology, but it doesn't change what happened. You broke my trust, and that's something I can't just forget. I said, my voice firm but calm. I understand. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better. I've been going to therapy and working on my issues. I needed you to know that, she said, tears welling up in her eyes. I sighed, feeling a mix of emotions. I'm glad you're getting help, Cynthia. I really am. But you need to understand that I've moved on. I'm building a new life for myself, and I can't let the past hold me back. I know I'm unhappy for you. I heard about your woodworking shop. It sounds like you're doing really well, she said, trying to smile through her tears. Yes, it's going well. It's given me a sense of purpose, I replied, feeling a small sense of pride. We sat in silence for a few moments, the weight of our shared history hanging between us. Finally, I stood up. I think it's best if we leave the past where it is, Cynthia. I wish you well, but I need to focus on my future, I said, giving her a small nod. Thank you, David, for everything. I hope you find all the happiness you deserve, she said, her voice barely a whisper. As I walked out of the cafe, I felt a sense of closure. Facing Cynthia and hearing her apology allowed me to finally let go of the lingering resentment. It was a step towards healing, towards truly moving on. That evening, I met Anna for dinner. We sat on the patio of our favorite restaurant, the warm glow of the setting sun casting a golden hue over everything. How did it go with Cynthia? Anna asked gently, reaching for my hand. It went better than I expected. She apologized, and it felt sincere. I think she's really trying to change, I said, squeezing her hand. That's good to hear. How do you feel about it? She asked, her eyes searching mine. Relieved, I guess. It felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I'm ready to leave the past behind and focus on us, on our future, I said, feeling a sense of peace. Anna smiled, her eyes shining with love. I'm here for you, David, whatever you need. I know, and I'm grateful for that every day, I replied, leaning in to kiss her. As we sat there, enjoying the evening and each other's company, I realized that facing the past had given me the strength to fully embrace the present. My journey was far from over, but with Anna by my side and a clear heart, I was ready to face whatever came next. The road ahead was filled with possibilities, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly free. Free to love, to create, and to live the life I had always dreamed of. The months that followed my meeting with Cynthia were transformative. I felt lighter, as if shedding the weight of the past had freed me to fully embrace my future. My woodworking shop was thriving, and my relationship with Anna grew stronger each day. I was no longer looking back with regret, but forward with hope. One Saturday morning, Anna and I decided to take a trip to a nearby town. It was known for its scenic beauty and small artisan markets. We drove with the windows down, the fresh air and sunshine invigorating us. This place is beautiful, Anna said as we parked and started walking towards the market. Yeah, it really is. I've always loved small towns like this, I replied, taking her hand. As we wandered through the market, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of contentment. We stopped at various stalls, admiring handcrafted goods and sampling local delicacies. At one booth, a craftsman was selling handmade wooden toys, and we struck up a conversation. These are incredible, I said, picking up an intricately carved wooden train. Thank you. I've been making these for years. There's something special about creating with your hands, isn't there? The craftsman replied with a warm smile. Absolutely. I run a woodworking shop myself. It's more than just a job. It's a passion, I said, feeling a kinship with the man. As we continued our stroll, Anna looked up at me, her eyes filled with excitement. David, have you ever thought about teaching woodworking? You have so much talent, and I bet a lot of people would love to learn from you. I stopped to consider her words. I haven't really thought about it, but it's a great idea. Maybe I could start with some weekend workshops at the shop. I think it would be wonderful. You could inspire so many people, Anna said, squeezing my hand. Her support meant everything to me. Over the next few weeks, I started planning the workshops. I advertised locally and through social media, and soon enough, I had a small group of eager students ready to learn. The first class was a mix of nervous excitement and joy as I shared my knowledge and passion with others. One evening after a successful workshop, Anna and I sat in the shop, surrounded by the day's creations. You were amazing today, David. Seeing you teach with so much passion was incredible, Anna said, leaning against me. Thank you, Anna. It felt really good to share what I love with others. I think this is the start of something great, I replied, feeling a sense of fulfillment. As our lives settled into this new rhythm, I decided it was time to take another step forward. One evening, as we were having dinner at home, I took a deep breath and reached across the table to take Anna's hand. Anna, these past months with you have been the best of my life. You've shown me what it means to truly love and be loved. I can't imagine my future without you. I began, my heart pounding. She looked at me, her eyes wide and full of emotion. David, I feel the same way. You've brought so much joy and meaning into my life. I stood up, walked over to her side of the table, and got down on one knee. Her eyes filled with tears as she realized what was happening. Anna, will you marry me? I asked, holding out a simple, elegant ring. Yes, David. 1,000 times yes, she exclaimed, tears streaming down her face as she hugged me tightly. As we embraced, I felt a profound sense of happiness. The journey to this moment had been filled with trials and heartache, but it had also led me to a place of love and hope. Our wedding was a small, intimate affair surrounded by close friends and family. Tom stood by my side as my best man, a constant pillar of support. As Anna walked down the aisle, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with gratitude. This was my new beginning, a life filled with love and endless possibilities. Standing there, holding Anna's hands and looking into her eyes, I knew that embracing the future meant embracing every moment, every joy, and every challenge. We were ready to face it all together, and for the first time, I felt truly at peace. Life isn't about the past that haunts us, but the future that awaits. And with Anna by my side, I was ready to embrace it all with open arms and an open heart.